The aurora's fold hummed beneath my boots like a cat the size of a small moon, which wasn't comforting because the cat was currently suffering from a ventilation glitch I was supposed to fix. I was elbow-deep in a panel of tangled fiber cables when my coworkers started gossiping again, their voices bouncing off the chrome walls as if the ship itself were desperate for distraction. "Did you see her?" Jalen whispered. "The Lethari woman with the long ears. Looks like someone stretched the universe's nicest elf." I snorted, because if I didn't laugh, I'd fall asleep inside the wiring. Yeah, sure. I'd say yes if she proposed. Maybe then I'd finally get a vacation. That earned the usual round of muffled giggles. If sarcasm were a fuel source, we'd have powered half the fleet. I sealed the panel, wiped my hands, and turned, straight into the eyes of the alien woman I had just joked about. Her ears were long, luminous at the tips, like someone had dipped them into moonlight. Her gaze was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that meant either deep wisdom or imminent disaster. She stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that the soft glow of her ears reflected on my uniform like twin lanterns. "Then say it," she whispered. I blinked. "Say what?" "You accept my proposal." I laughed the broken, accidental laugh of a man who suddenly suspects the universe is making fun of him. "Oh, no, that was a joke. Human joke. Non-binding. Zero contractual obligation." Behind her, Jalen mouthed, "You're dead." But Sarai, because her name tag shimmered with the elegant Lethari script, tilted her head with a serenity that made me panic harder. "Lethari law honors spoken intention. You declared willingness." "I acknowledge it." She placed her hand over her chest in a circular motion, which any species relations handbook would tell you was a formal acceptance gesture. I began sweating fast enough to qualify as a small internal waterfall. I didn't mean it, really. Humans say things we don't mean all the time. It's practically a hobby. She considered this with grave focus. "You use deception recreationally." "Not deception, just conversational improvisation." "That is worse." Before I could dig myself a deeper linguistic grave, a chirping alarm echoed in the corridor. A diplomatic drone, shaped like a floating chrome teapot someone had decided needed anxiety issues, zipped toward us. "Unregistered interspecies commitment detected," it buzzed. "Please remain still while confirmation is recorded." "Cancel," I snapped, waving my arms. "This is a misunderstanding." But the drone only hovered higher, optical lens blinking in excitement, probably thrilled to witness something that wasn't a policy seminar. "Lethari human engagement noted. Updating diplomatic ledger." Sarai gave the drone a patient nod, as if this were all perfectly normal. "Proceed." "Don't proceed," I protested. "There's nothing to proceed with." The drone beeped sympathetically, sympathy being one of its 5 programmed emotional approximations, then projected a holographic notice in dazzling blue script. "Formal review pending." Great, wonderful, my life had officially become a bureaucratic cliffhanger. "I can clarify," Sarai said gently. "Lethari custom is clear. If a promise is spoken, the cosmos listens." "Well, the cosmos needs better hearing filters," I muttered. Her ears twitched, an involuntary reaction, I guessed, like tiny luminous wings. "Your voice carries sincerity, even when joking." "That's a terrible assumption to make about humans," I said. "We barely carry grocery lists correctly." A faint, amused curve appeared on her lips. Lethari's smiles were subtle, more like the idea of a smile than an actual one. "You are flustered." "I am very flustered. That's the normal human response to being accidentally engaged." The drone suddenly spun around us in a celebratory loop, projecting particles of shimmering gold light. "Preliminary bonding ritual may now commence." I ducked. What ritual? No ritual. A nearby door slid open and a passing officer glanced at the spectacle, then nodded approvingly. "Congratulations." I wanted to lie down in the corridor and let the artificial gravity take me away. Sarai folded her hands elegantly. "It appears our fates have aligned." "Our fates have absolutely not aligned," I insisted. "Our fates have tripped over each other, crashed into a wall, and are currently arguing with a drone." She studied me again, long ears glowing slightly brighter. "Do you wish to retract?" "Yes." The drone halted mid-spin, lens widening. Retraction request detected. Alert. Emotional instability risk. I'm not emotionally unstable, I snapped. I'm normal unstable. Sarai exhaled softly. Very well. Lethari protocol requires a council hearing. You may present your case. A hearing, over a joke. Our laws were not written with human sarcasm in mind. Of course they were. Nothing in the universe ever assumed humans communicated like hyperventilating stand-up comedians. She stepped aside, motioning for me to walk with her toward the shimmering lift platform. Come, we will resolve this together. I hesitated, watching the drone trail behind us like an overeager wedding planner. Don't worry, she added, with a hint of warmth I hadn't expected. If the cosmos misheard your intention, we will correct it. I sighed and followed her, because at that point, fate, or at least interstellar paperwork, was dragging me along by the collar. The lift carried us upward in a column of blue light, the floor humming under my boots, as if unsure whether it wanted to hold my weight or eject me into the nearest airlock. Sarai stood beside me with the serene posture of someone who had never once panicked in her life. Her long ears glowed softly, shifting with every small tilt of her head, like they were listening to thoughts I wasn't even having yet. You are anxious, she observed. Not anxious, I corrected. I'm structurally concerned. Her ears flicked, which I had learned was the Lethari equivalent of a raised eyebrow. We are simply attending a hearing. Sarai, where I'm from, a hearing usually means we did something illegal, or someone thinks we did something illegal, or someone wants to pretend it's illegal so they can make paperwork happen. I see, a cultural misunderstanding. Yes, my culture misunderstands everything. It's practically our motto. The lift arrived at the Lethari diplomatic wing, where the air smelled faintly of ionized petals. Some plant-based air scrubbing technology their environmental scientists insisted was calming. It wasn't calming. It smelled like flowers that had gone through a lightning storm. Guidance drones waited for us, their rounded bodies glowing with soft teal light. One of them bobbed eagerly. Welcome, honored participants. Stop calling us honored, I muttered. It feels like you're preparing me for ritual sacrifice. We retired ritual sacrifice 3 centuries ago, the drone chirped, then added, mostly. I glanced at Sarai. She didn't deny it. The chamber we entered was circular, filled with floating holographic glyphs that drifted like lazy fireflies. Lethari Council members stood arranged on raised platforms, shimmering with their species' trademark bioluminescence. Their long ears created soft halos of light above them, making them look like elegant lanterns judging my life choices. Begin compatibility trial 1, a counselor said. I spun toward Sarai. Trial, as in multiple. Yes, she replied calmly, but they are simple, nothing to fear. That sounds like something you say right before someone dies in a safety video. A transparent barrier shimmered around us, forming a sphere. A holographic interface blinked into existence, displaying shapes, symbols, and one very confused portrait of me, as though the system were trying to guess which part of my face was responsible for my decisions. Step 1, the drone announced, shared perception. Suddenly, the chamber vanished. I was standing in a wide, glowing expanse that looked suspiciously like someone had handed a nebula a paintbrush. Colors swirled around us, forming echoes of memories, hers and mine floating like translucent mirrors. A childhood bedroom, a Lethari crystalline garden, my first failed job interview, her first star-sung ceremony, embarrassing. Beautiful, terrifying. What is this? I whispered. A memory echo simulation, Sarai said softly. It reveals emotional resonance. Emotional resonance sounds like something I fail at regularly. A memory of me tripping over a toolbox during training floated by like a majestic failure whale. Sarai studied it with fascination. You survived this, she asked. Tripping? Yes, it's one of my greatest talents. A ripple of amusement passed through the simulation, confirming that yes, even the mindscape found me ridiculous. As we walked, more memories blended, hers glowing with soft geometry, mine with chaotic scribbles like an excited child had drawn my life with a malfunctioning stylus. And yet, somehow, the echoes moved toward each other instead of apart. That is unusual, she murmured. What my terrible handwriting. No, the resonance. Our memories align easily. I think the simulator might be broken. It is never broken. Great, wonderful. The universe thought I was compatible with someone I'd known for 27 minutes and accidentally proposed to through poorly timed humor. We stepped out of the simulation and back into the chamber, where the counselors murmured like glowing librarians. "Proceed to trial 2, one said. A platform rose beneath us, lifting us onto a narrow walkway suspended over the ship's core, where streams of light flowed like molten starfire. "This is the harmony test," Sarai explained. "Does it involve falling? Because I'm not emotionally prepared for falling." "No falling, only cooperation." A series of floating orbs materialized, each humming a different tone. Sarai touched one, creating a soft, melodic vibration. I touched another, accidentally producing a note that sounded like a startled frog. She gave me a gentle, amused look. "Try again." We adjusted, touching orbs in patterns until the tones blended. "I missed one," she corrected. "She missed one," I improvised. Halfway through, the system produced a tone so awful I accused it of insulting our relationship. By the time the last chord reverberated, warm and whole, the walkway glowed beneath our feet. "You did well," Sarai said. "I faked confidence the entire time." That is also a form of skill. Back in the chamber, the counselors conferred silently. The drones hovered, almost buzzing with excitement. "Final trial to come," a counselor announced. "You will approach it tomorrow." "Tomorrow," I said. "Why not now? Let's get this over with." Sarai folded her hands, ears lowering slightly in a gesture I hadn't seen before. "Because the final trial concerns intention." "Ah," I whispered, "the thing I'm terrible at." She met my gaze, her long ears glowing softly, warmly. "Not terrible, only uncertain." We left the chamber in a quiet hum of lights and drifting glyphs. As we walked, she glanced at me, not as a cultural curiosity, not as a diplomatic puzzle, but as someone she was genuinely trying to understand. "I hope," she said carefully, "that whichever choice you make, you choose it freely." I swallowed. I hope the same thing. The ship hummed around us, carrying us toward a tomorrow neither of us was ready for, but both of us were already walking toward. The next morning, I woke up convinced the ship had tilted sideways overnight. It hadn't, of course. Gravity was functioning perfectly, but my stomach definitely was. Today was the final trial, the one about intention, which was a word that had the same effect on me as tax audit or mandatory social event. I tugged on my uniform, inhaled deeply, and tried to convince myself that panicking was a valid form of cardio. When I arrived at the observation deck that overlooked the ship's core, Sarai was already waiting. Her long ears glowed with a faint, steady light, and she stood with that calm, centered presence that made me feel like I was always either talking too loudly or thinking too chaotically. "You are troubled," she said as I approached. "That obvious." "Yes, your steps sound like someone fleeing a malfunctioning cleaning drone." "That's accurate." She didn't smile, not exactly, but the corners of her expression softened. "Do not fear, the final trial is simple." "You keep using that word. It keeps lying." Before she could respond, the platform beneath us shifted, rising through a column of shimmering gold. The chamber we entered looked nothing like the previous ones. It was open, a circular space surrounded by transparent walls that revealed the ship's bright, pulsing energy streams. The floor beneath us was a single disc of metal, etched with rings that glowed faintly as we stepped forward. The counselors appeared on their suspended platforms, each surrounded by drifting glyphs. The diplomatic drone hovered nearby, buzzing like it had waited its whole life for this moment. "Final trial," a counselor announced. "Mutual intention." A beam of light swept over us. It wasn't hot. If anything, it felt cool, like a breeze made of starlight. But as it passed through me, memories stirred, moments from the trials, from our first meeting, from that horrible instant when the drone declared us engaged without my consent. But there were other memories, too. Sarai correcting my notes in the harmony trial. Her tiny, amused ear flicks every time I said something nonsensical. The way she had paused yesterday, hoping I would make a free choice. The beam faded. "Now," the counselor said, "you speak." "Me," I squeaked. "Yes," Sarai replied gently. Your intention must be stated aloud. I swallowed so loudly it echoed. All eyes and ears were on me. I looked at Sarai. She stood calmly, but her ears glowed more brightly than before, like bioluminescent petals waiting for sunlight. I exhaled. When I made that joke, I didn't mean anything serious. I wasn't thinking about promises or customs or interspecies implications. But these last days, I've learned a lot. Mostly that your people take words more seriously than humans do, and humans should probably rethink the whole joking as a coping mechanism thing. A ripple of amusement passed through the counselors at that, like a wave of politely suppressed laughter. But I also learned that you're kind, patient, honestly more patient than anyone who's had to deal with me has any right to be. And I didn't expect that the more time we spent together, the less I wanted this to be just a misunderstanding. Sarai's ears lifted slightly, hopeful. What I intend, I said, is this. I don't want to bind us to a promise I made by accident, but I do want to choose to know you, freely, not because of laws or mistakes or diplomatic drama, just because I want to. The drone emitted a soft, delighted beep. The counselors murmured. Even the chamber lights brightened as if trying to applaud. Then they looked to Sarai. She stepped forward, her presence quiet but steady. I accept your intention. I never wished to bind you through law. I wished only that you would speak truthfully from your heart. That's new for me, I muttered. She continued, her voice soft but carrying through the room. I too choose freely. Not because our memories resonate, nor because our voices harmonize, but because your chaos is refreshing. I'll take that as a compliment. It is one. The counselors raised their glowing hands in unison. The bond shall not be formalized, one declared, but the connection is acknowledged. Let it grow by choice, not decree. A warm wave of light swept over us, dissolving the tension in my chest. The trial was complete. No engagement, no forced alliance, just freedom and possibility. As the platform lowered us back into the quiet hallway, I let out a shaky breath. Well, we survived. Indeed. And no one died. That was never likely. Your drone threatened sacrifice. They exaggerate. We walked side by side through the corridor, the ship humming around us in its usual rhythm. But something felt different. My steps weren't frantic anymore.